Hi guys, I'm Mike.
And I'm Ash.
And this is F1 Fanatics. Welcome back to another video on the channel, and in Corona break we've got lots of videos coming out and sometimes they will be completely ridiculous, and today is probably one of those times. So the video title you would have seen in the thumbnail if you kind of clicked onto this is ridiculous.
Yeah, that's me.
Versus realistic. And basically, obviously, another 3 races have been postponed and Monaco is officially kind of cancelled for the 2020 season. The first time it won't appear on the calendar since 1954, as well as Zandvoort and the Spanish Grand Prix. But I imagine they will heavily try and get Zandvoort in at some point during the calendar. Obviously, being its return, massively that probably comes as a priority where Monaco are like, we're going to be there next year.
Yeah.
So it's going to be kind of quite an easy one on that front. So basically, with the coronavirus, it's thrown the whole 2020 season a massive, huge, ginormous, big spanner in the works, basically.
Yep, and with the way things are going, we don't really know when we are going to be seeing some F1 this season, and we've had a little think about how the calendar could work. And as you will see, I'm going to be explaining just 2. We've kept it quite simple with this one.
Yeah,
we didn't want to go too full on with this, but I'm going to explain 2 completely ridiculous ways in which we can get this calendar completed as much as possible. And when I say ridiculous, they are quite ridiculous. We then have Mike explaining the realistic ways.
Indeed, the ways that most likely F1 will continue. So, Ash, do we want to do ridiculous or realistic first?
Realistic.
Okay, so the most realistic option will be that obviously it was meant to be a record-breaking season in the first time that the F1 calendar had hosted 22 races across the season, but in its most likely form, basically we will probably get a reduced calendar. It has been already gone down to 15 races. I imagine maybe somewhere between 17 or 18 races might be committed, with obviously the summer break being taken early, that will just kind of race straight the way through from maybe June through to December. So that is probably the most realistic option. We say the most kind of boring option. That is probably the one that we most kind of want and would enjoy that immensely, because we'll just love seeing racing, and it'll be very interesting because it will be a continuous development train. And obviously, with the rules being pushed back to 2022, and I believe included in that the 2020 chassis must be used in the 2021 to kind of recover on that front. So cutting costs on there. It realistically is, almost like an extended pre-season for the 2020 season, if things go wrong.
Pretty much.
Yeah, but that is probably the most realistic thing that will happen in the 2020 season.
Okay, and the first of the ridiculous. Now, this one involves looking at the calendar and identifying some that are relatively close to each other geographically. So the example that I used when I said to Mike something that was completely ridiculous was using Europe, because obviously we're closer to that and it's closer to that period. So if we were to decide that we were going to have the Italian Grand Prix, the Austrian Grand Prix and the French Grand Prix condensed into one race weekend, where the drivers would complete the track, do the Grand Prix itself on, say, let's start in Monza. We do Monza. We do that on the Friday. The teams finish that. They then fuel up the cars. And as the majority of Europe at this moment in time is going into pretty much a full lockdown, the teams have to then race their cars to the next Grand Prix that will be starting on Saturday, being Austria in this case. And the first car there starts on pole position. and then we gradually work back. What we may end up seeing is Williams may design a fantastic road car, but an awful Formula 1 car. Completely ridiculous. We're going to be racing from point to point and having a race in there as well. But who cares? At this moment in time, we just want Formula 1. Continual streaming of races, 24 hours a day. Have a full weekend. We can even do it for races in America, in the Americas. So we could have the Brazilian, Mexican and the US Grand Prix put together across one weekend.
And I'll tell you what, it's an absolutely brilliant chance to kind of show off the efficiency of the hybrid engine.
Exactly.
And you know, obviously that is a lot to do with F1 in terms of showing its relatability of the stuff that is made translate down to the manufacturers who are in it into their road cars. So obviously, naturally,
It's
F1 cars, it's a match made in heaven.
There we go.
It makes perfect business sense, is what we're saying.
And let's be honest, who doesn't want to see a Formula 1 car on real roads just going as fast as they can? It'd be quite funny to have a couple of speed cameras going off as well. It would be quite fun. But
I wouldn't like to pay for that ticket.
yeah, well, we can pass that on to the FIA.
Now number 2, bringing back the serious into this video and the realistic. Now, obviously last year touted were maybe some reverse grid races, but basically maybe experimenting with the kind of qualifying format and the race format. So what we could do is to kind of increase the level of racing with reduced number of races, maybe, you know, half the calendar of kind of 11 rounds, because of we've lost so much due to the virus, who knows in the future. But on a Saturday they have a feature race, and then on the Sunday they have a sprint race to mirror the F2 and the F3, or the other way round, whichever works. So we keep the Sunday as the feature race, as it traditionally is in Formula 1. So that would be kind of an interesting concept to do. This year it's going to be experimental. It doesn't mean that anything we do this year would be fixed. It wouldn't make really F1 a farce or anything, because it's unprecedented. It's weird. Everything's thrown up in the air. Like, loads of kind of sports tournaments are having going to do. I think football are talking about finishing the Europa Leagues and Champions Leagues in like mini tournaments. So why not have a bit of fun with the kind of race weekend calendar, and, you know, take inspiration from the lower feeder series? And, you know, it's a way of giving fans more racing, but still condensing it into that shorter form of the weekend through the time that we've lost already.
And as you will guess now, I'm going to come up with another ridiculous idea. And it comes back...
Wait a minute there, Ash. If you're not already sitting down, please do sit down, ready for this.
And it comes back to the condensing the season and being able to complete as much, whilst providing us fans with the level of racing we are wanting to see. Now, this as a concept would take a lot of planning, as most things will with regards to...
We've got a bit of time on our hands though.
Exactly, there's plenty of time for the FIA to get this one logistically set up. It also requires quite a bit of strategy from the teams themselves. So, Ross Brawn has come out and said that within the regulations, it does allow for there being less than 12 drivers on a race weekend. So, for me, that screams one thing and one thing only. We split the grid in two. We have 10 drivers and 10 drivers. Very simple so far. Now what we do for that is we split them into different races. So we have a look at the calendar, we look at the times that fit, and once again I'm going to use Silverstone to help me with this example. But what we would do is have a Saturday, and on Saturday afternoon we will have Silverstone qualifying. Saturday evening though, we would have Kota. We're going to have half the team in Britain, we're going to have half the team in the USA. It means that the teams would have to decide which driver was going to be stronger at which racetrack. But we would then have it perfect. We would have a Saturday afternoon of qualifying into a Saturday evening. We'd then have a Sunday afternoon of a race, followed by a Sunday evening. It follows quite nicely, and we could end up with a situation where we have Max Verstappen racing against pretty much no one, because the other teams, well, you'd have, I don't know, you'd have to have it as a driver from each team at each race, but it would work on the basis that you're going to end up having races where you are going to have the weaker drivers in the team fighting against stronger drivers, and vice versa. So in that example, you'd struggle if you were a Mercedes. Hamilton is very strong in both of those tracks. But if you were to go, say, with a Canada race and a Russian Grand Prix, that's quite an obvious one. Canada, you would have Lewis Hamilton there. Russia, Valtteri Bottas, he's very strong there. We just end up having 11 race weekends where we have pairs of races, and then we can end it up in Abu Dhabi, final race, have everyone there on track, because you know what's going to have an end to the season other than having everyone together. Don't know how points would work on that.
Double points.
No, I mean
The return of the double points.
I mean just in general, how are we going to have points working? Because
I have no idea.
I haven't thought that far in advance, but that way we do get all 23 races, so
22.
22.
It's alright. You were close. I think what could go wrong with this idea? It adds in strategy. I am sorry to Ferrari fans, where obviously strategy is not your strong point, and by adding in an extra incredibly hard curveball into this, but at least the drivers, they won't have to worry about the strategy in the race of mucking up with the drivers of one or two, because they'll both be the number ones at whichever race they're racing at. So we've actually solved the problem for Ferrari. For Mercedes, Bottas, you're not going to hear Valtteri, it's James. It's going to be Bottas, congratulations, you've won the Grand Prix.
Exactly. It makes it fun for everyone. And unfortunately for Williams, they'll probably still end 10th in both races.
Yeah, to bring it down on this.
It's likely. But
why would you do that to George?
Okay, fine. But it does mean that there would be the possibility, and quite a strong possibility, of that podium being broken up, and we have a repeat of last season where teams are getting on there other than the three big teams.
Simple. Easy.
We've solved the FIA's problems for them.
In fact, this is just how F1 is progressing forward. You know, less race weekends, we're condensing it across for the kind of teams, you know, we're travelling less in terms of over the sporadic thing. Yeah, we may be travelling across to different things, but if you make it the kind of the split grids, it's quite simple, as long as the drivers kind of go on that front. Basically, you know, the FIA, if you're watching this video, Ross, if you're watching this, Chase, if you're watching this, you know, get in contact with us. We will be happy to kind of sit through, do a PowerPoint.
Of how it
facts.
would work. Yeah.
Definitely facts would be in that PowerPoint. And
we've got loads more ideas. Not all of them make sense, which is why we've cut this down to 4. But yeah.
I mean, it's a winner. If you're an F1 fan, I don't know how you can't love the idea.
Unless you've got tickets to the 2 races that are on the same weekend. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well, you should have thought about that.
Yeah.
You should have known that this entirely ridiculous idea would have come into play, so therefore you shouldn't have actually booked tickets to the same race because you couldn't be in 2 places at the same time.
Exactly. That's how it works.
Exactly. But anyway, that is probably a good point to end that ridiculous versus realistic way of how the 2020 season can progress. And on a, as I have been realistic, on a serious note, I do actually think it's frustrating, obviously, the pause being here. It's frustrating having another break. Obviously, we've been building up 3 months to the start of the F1 season, and now it's an extra 2 months at least, if not, you know, another 3 months. We don't know how this thing might progress. But, you know, it could still have some fantastic races. We could still have a weird and wonderful but still fantastic championship. It may feel a little bit weird, you know, to add it as a world championship, but if we get it all together, I'm sure it will be classified that, and you know, Lewis maybe have a chance to still equal Michael Schumacher's record this year. Look, as long as there's enough races for Kimi Raikkonen to become the most experienced, I'm all right with it. You know, that's the main priority here.
Yeah, that's what we're looking for. Maybe not just that. More likely the fact that we just want to see some F1 racing. It will be back at some point, and we'll keep coming up with ideas for videos that we can put out in the meantime.
Absolutely. So guys, well, I hope you're enjoying the Corona break. Well, I hope you're enjoying what you've watched today. Comment down below with your realistic and your ridiculous ideas of how the F1 2020 season might progress going forward. Remember, this is a pretty much not taking ourselves too seriously and fun video. So please do not think that we're seriously considering it, although Chase, so
that bit is realistic, like,
yeah,
you know, give us a call.
Of course that is on there, but if you are new around here, we haven't done so already, and you've stuck with us, if you do enjoy what we've done, what can they do, Ash?
You can press the subscribe button so that our videos are going into your YouTube inbox, and if you press that bell icon you will get a notification when a video goes live, and you'll be able to see something ridiculous. I feel as if we've said that word a lot. There's always one that we go for.
Or something realistic.
Yeah.
One of the two. And if you've liked it, let us know. Drop us a thumbs up on the video. But for now, you F1 fans, keep racing.